And what if everything you believe about trust, loyalty, and human goodness is the very thing destroying you? What if the reason you keep getting burned, keep getting blindsided, keep ending up confused, drained, and discarded, is not because you are unlucky, not because the world is cruel, but because you were never taught how to see? Pay very close attention. Because what you are about to hear is not motivation. It is not comfort. It is a warning, one that Niccolo Machiavelli delivered over 500 years ago, and one that the world still refuses to accept. This is not a video for the weak-minded. This is not a video for those who want to be told that everything will be fine, that people are fundamentally good, that if you just stay positive, the universe will protect you. No. This is for the ones who are tired of being the fool in someone else's game. This is for you, the one who has been used, outmaneuvered, or quietly discarded by someone you believed in. And if that has never happened to you, then either you are lying to yourself or you simply haven't noticed yet. Here is the truth that no one wants to say out loud. You are surrounded by players, not friends, not allies, players. People who have studied you longer than you have studied yourself. People who know exactly which words make you soften, which gestures make you trust, which silences make you chase. And you walk into every room like an open book, wondering why someone always seems to read you before you even speak. Machiavelli understood this with terrifying clarity. In The Prince, he did not write about how to be kind. He wrote about how to survive. He did not describe the world as it should be. He described it as it is. And the gap between those two things, between how you wish people were and how they actually operate, that gap is where every manipulation lives. That gap is where you bleed. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times in your life have you trusted someone, truly trusted them, only to discover later that they had an agenda you never saw? How many times did you ignore the signs, dismiss the whispers of your own instinct, because you wanted to believe? How many times did you hand someone the weapon they would later use against you, wrapped in loyalty, disguised as love? This is not your fault. But from this moment forward, it is your responsibility, because the game does not stop just because you refuse to acknowledge it. The game continues whether you participate consciously or not. The only difference is this: when you are unaware, you are a piece on someone else's board. When you are aware, you become the hand that moves. You were raised in a world that rewards naivety and punishes awareness. You were told that being suspicious is toxic, that guarding yourself is cold, that analyzing people's motives makes you paranoid. And so you walked through life with your armor off, your gates wide open, and a sign above your head that read, "Available for exploitation." Machiavelli warned us. He said that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. Read that again. Let it sink into your bones. The world does not run out of deceivers. It runs out of people who refuse to be deceived. And here you are. Maybe you are reading this after a betrayal. Maybe a friend revealed themselves to be a strategist. Maybe a partner used your emotions like a chessboard. Maybe a colleague smiled to your face while building a case behind your back. Or maybe, and this is the most dangerous possibility, you are being manipulated right now and do not even know it. That is the genius of manipulation. It does not feel like manipulation while it is happening. It feels like connection. It feels like loyalty. It feels like someone finally understands you. The trap does not look like a trap. It looks like home. This is why you must understand something fundamental before we go any further. Manipulation is not about intelligence. Some of the smartest people in the world have been played. Professors, CEOs, generals, philosophers. It is not about how much you know. It is about how much you are willing to see. And most people, no matter how brilliant, choose blindness because the truth is too uncomfortable. Here is the core of Machiavelli's warning, stripped of all its historical context and political framing. The world operates on interest, not on affection. People do not act based on how they feel about you. They act based on what they need from you. And the moment you stop being useful, the moment you no longer serve their purpose, you will see a transformation so swift and so cold that it will make you question everything you thought you knew about them. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. There is a difference between someone who is bitter and someone who is awake. The bitter person has been hurt and now hates everyone. The awake person has been hurt and now understands the game. You do not need to hate anyone. You do not need to become cold, ruthless, or heartless. What you need, what Machiavelli would demand of you if he could sit across from you right now, is to stop volunteering for suffering. You volunteer for suffering every time you trust, without observation. Every time you give, without tracking whether it is reciprocated. Every time you share your weaknesses with someone who has not earned the right to know them. Every time you confuse someone's charm with their character. Every time you mistake intensity for intimacy. Let me paint a picture you will recognize. You meet someone. They are warm, attentive. They ask questions about your life, your dreams, your fears. They remember details. They show up when others do not. You think, finally, someone who gets me. And in that moment of relief, in that exhale of loneliness, you drop every guard you have. You share everything, your insecurities, your plans, your vulnerabilities. You hand them a map of your interior world and say, "Here, hold this." And for a while, everything is perfect. They reflect your words back to you. They validate your emotions. They make you feel seen in a way you have never felt before. But here is what you did not notice, and what Machiavelli would have caught in the first conversation. They never gave you the same map. They asked every question but answered none. They mirrored you, but they never revealed themselves. You were transparent. They were strategic. This is one of the oldest plays in the book of human power. Make someone feel understood, and they will give you everything. Their trust, their secrets, their blind loyalty. And once you have those things, you have leverage, you have control. You have a person who will defend you, even when the evidence is stacked against you, because they are not defending you. They are defending the version of you that they desperately need to be real. Machiavelli wrote that it is much safer to be feared than loved, when one of the two must be lacking. But the modern manipulator has refined this principle. They do not choose between fear and love. They weaponize love first, and when that stops working, they introduce fear. The fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone, the fear that without them, you are nothing. You have felt this. Maybe not in those exact words, but in the way your stomach drops when someone pulls away, in the way you start apologizing for things you did not do, in the way you shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. That is not love. That is control wearing the mask of love. And if you cannot tell the difference, you will spend your entire life serving someone else's agenda while believing it is your own choice. Do you know what the most chilling part of this is? The manipulator does not always know they are manipulating. Some of them learned it so early, from parents, from survival, from environments where love was conditional, that it became their default mode of operation. They do not sit in dark rooms plotting your downfall. They simply operate from a script that was installed before they were old enough to question it. And that makes them even more dangerous. Because a conscious manipulator can be reasoned with. An unconscious one cannot even see what they are doing. They will gaslight you not out of malice, but out of genuine confusion. Because in their world, what they are doing feels like love. This is why Machiavelli's lens is so critical. He does not ask you to judge motives. He asks you to observe outcomes. Stop asking, what did they mean? And start asking, what did they do? Stop asking, did they intend to hurt me? And start asking, am I hurting? The intention behind someone's actions is their problem. The effect of those actions on your life, that is yours. Now let us go deeper. Because manipulation does not only happen in intimate relationships. It happens in friendships, in workplaces, in families, in social circles. It happens every time someone uses your good nature against you. Every time someone frames their selfishness as your obligation. Every time someone makes you feel guilty for having boundaries. Think about the colleague who always needs help but is never available when you do. Think about the friend who shares your secrets but wraps it in concern. I just told them because I was worried about you. Think about the family member who guilt trips you into compliance under the banner of tradition or love. These are not accidents. These are patterns, and patterns once recognized lose their power. Machiavelli observed that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. The same applies to you. Look at the people around you, not at what they say, at what they do. Not at their promises, at their patterns. Not at who they are when they need you, but at who they are when they do not. This is where most people fail. They judge others by their words instead of their behavior. They accept apologies instead of demanding change. They confuse explanation with accountability. Someone tells you why they hurt you, and you nod as if understanding the reason makes the wound disappear. It does not. Understanding why someone stabbed you does not remove the blade. Only action does. And what does action look like? It looks like silence. It looks like distance. It looks like the quiet, deliberate decision to stop giving someone access to parts of you that they have proven they cannot be trusted with. It does not look like drama. It does not look like confrontation. It looks like a door closing so gently that they do not even hear it, until they reach for you and find nothing there. This is the Machiavellian response to betrayal, not vengeance, not anger. Withdrawal, strategic, measured, irreversible withdrawal. Because the greatest punishment you can give someone who fed on your attention is the total and permanent removal of it. They will not understand at first. They will reach out. They will perform. They will tell you what you want to hear. But you, the new you, the one who has listened to this warning, you will watch their performance with the detached clarity of someone who has finally stopped auditioning for their approval. And here is the most painful part of this entire truth. The people most likely to be manipulated are not the stupid ones. They are the empathetic ones, the ones who feel deeply, the ones who give others the benefit of the doubt, the ones who would rather be hurt than hurt someone else. If that sounds like you, then listen carefully. Your greatest strength is also your greatest vulnerability, and until you learn to protect it, the world will exploit it. Empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. Kindness without discernment is weakness. Trust without evidence is foolishness. And Machiavelli, for all his reputation as a cold strategist, was not telling you to stop being kind. He was telling you to stop being naive. There is a difference so vast between those two things that most people never even see it. The kind person who is also discerning is untouchable. They give, but they track. They trust, but they verify. They love, but they observe. They are warm on the surface and steel underneath. This is not manipulation. This is survival.
Patience, my
This
friend.
is what Machiavelli meant when he said a prince should be both a lion and a fox. The lion to frighten wolves, the fox to recognize traps. You have been the lamb long enough. Not because you are weak, but because no one ever told you that strength and compassion can coexist. No one told you that you can love someone and still watch them carefully. No one told you that protecting yourself is not the same as closing yourself off. You can have an open heart and a guarded mind. In fact, you must. This is the foundation of everything that follows. If you understand this single principle, that the world operates on interest, that people reveal themselves through patterns, and that your empathy requires a shield, then you already possess more strategic awareness than 90% of the population. But understanding is not enough. Knowledge without application is entertainment. You came here not to be amused, but to be transformed, and transformation requires discomfort. It requires you to look at your own history and admit where you handed people power they did not deserve. It requires you to forgive yourself for being naive, and then to swear, silently and permanently, that you will never make the same mistake again. Machiavelli did not write for the comfortable. He wrote for the ones willing to see the world without the filter of wishful thinking. He wrote for the ones who would rather know the truth and suffer momentarily than live in a beautiful lie and suffer permanently. He wrote for you, but only if you are brave enough to keep going. So here is where we stand. You now understand the fundamental principle. Manipulation thrives in the gap between how you wish people were and how they actually are. Close that gap, and you close the door on every person who would use you. But this principle alone is worth more than 1,000 self-help books, because those books tell you to love yourself, to set intentions, to visualize success. And none of that protects you from the person sitting across from you at dinner who has already decided what role you will play in their story. Visualization does not stop a predator. Awareness does. Positive thinking does not reveal hidden agendas. Observation does. Machiavelli was not writing a manual for tyrants. He was writing a survival guide for anyone willing to accept that the world does not operate on fairness. It operates on leverage. And the person who understands leverage, who understands what people want, what they fear, what they will do to get it, that person is no longer a victim of circumstances. That person is the architect of their own position. But how do you close it? How do you develop the eyes of a fox without losing the heart of a human? How do you read people without becoming cynical? How do you protect yourself without building walls so high that nothing, not even genuine love, can reach you? That is exactly what you are about to learn. The ancient strategists knew that the greatest victory is the one won without battle. The greatest defense is the one that never needs to be tested. And the greatest power is the one that is invisible, so quiet, so subtle, so deeply rooted in awareness that no one even realizes you have it until they try to move against you and discover that you saw them coming from the very first step. This is not about becoming paranoid. Paranoia is the disease of the fearful. This is about becoming perceptive. Perception is the weapon of the wise. And there is a world of difference between someone who suspects everyone and someone who simply pays attention. You are about to cross a threshold. On the other side of it, the world will look different. Not darker, clearer. The people who once confused you will become readable. The situations that once trapped you will become transparent. The games that once controlled you will become obvious. And not because you became colder or harder, but because you finally opened the one eye that was always shut, the eye of strategic awareness. Machiavelli would tell you this: the greatest danger is not the enemy who attacks you openly. It is the friend who embraces you while holding a blade behind their back. And the only defense against that friend is to notice the blade before they use it. Every word that follows in this video is designed to give you that sight. Not theory. Not philosophy, real, applicable, immediate awareness that you can use starting today, in your relationships, in your career, in your family, in every room you walk into. But I need something from you first. I need you to commit, not to me, to yourself. Commit to hearing truths that will sting. Commit to looking at your own blind spots. Commit to the possibility that some of the people you currently trust do not deserve that trust. And commit to doing something about it. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with the calm, calculated precision of someone who has finally decided to play the game on their own terms. If you are still here, then you are ready. What comes next will change how you see every interaction for the rest of your life. It will change how you listen, how you respond, how you give, how you withdraw. It will change the very fabric of your relationships, not by making them worse, but by making them honest. And honest relationships, even if they are fewer, are infinitely more powerful than 100 connections built on illusion. Machiavelli was not a villain. He was a mirror. He showed humanity its own reflection, and the world called him evil for it. But the reflection was always there. He simply refused to look away. And now, neither will you. Stay with me. Because what you will hear in the next part of this video goes far beyond theory. We are going to dissect the exact mechanisms of manipulation, the specific tactics, the invisible patterns, the psychological triggers that people use to control you, and more importantly, we are going to arm you with the knowledge to dismantle every single one of them. If you understood what was just said, then something has already shifted inside you. A quiet alarm has been activated. A filter has been installed. And from this point forward, you will never look at the people in your life the same way again. Not with hatred, not with suspicion, but with clarity. And clarity, as Machiavelli knew better than anyone, is the most dangerous weapon a human being can possess. Not a sword, not wealth, not even intelligence. Clarity. The ability to see what is actually there instead of what you hope to find. The ability to hear what is actually being said instead of what you want to hear. The ability to feel what someone is actually offering instead of what they are performing. This is your weapon now, and no one can take it from you, unless you let them. Continue watching. The real lessons have only just begun. Now that the veil has been lifted, now that you understand the fundamental law that governs every interaction you will ever have, interest over affection, patterns over promises, it is time to go deeper. Because knowing that manipulation exists is not enough. You need to understand how it works. You need to see the machinery. You need to recognize the gears turning in real time, not after the damage is done. Machiavelli once observed that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. That single sentence contains the entire blueprint of manipulation, appearance, perception, the carefully constructed image that a person projects versus the truth they conceal. And if you learn to read the distance between those two things, between what someone shows you and what they hide, you will possess a kind of vision that most people spend their entire lives without. Let us begin with the first mechanism, the first tool in the manipulator's arsenal. And it is the one you will least expect, because it does not look like a weapon at all. It looks like generosity. The gift that is not a gift. The most dangerous form of manipulation does not come wrapped in cruelty. It comes wrapped in kindness. The manipulator who gives you things, time, attention, favors, gifts, compliments, is not being generous. They are investing. Every act of giving is a deposit into an account they fully intend to withdraw from later. And when that withdrawal comes, it will not look like a demand. It will look like a reasonable expectation. After all, they gave you so much. How could you possibly say no? This is the principle of reciprocity weaponized. Social scientists have studied it for decades. When someone gives you something, your brain creates an unconscious debt. You feel obligated to return the favor, even if you never asked for it in the first place. The manipulator knows this. They flood you with generosity not because they care, but because they are building leverage. Every gift is a chain. Every favor is a rope. And by the time you realize you are tied, you have already been pulled too far to walk away easily. Machiavelli understood this at the level of nations and armies. A prince who gives too freely, he wrote, will eventually exhaust his resources and be forced to burden his people. But the inverse is equally true. The person who receives too freely will eventually be burdened by the expectations attached to those gifts. Nothing is free. Nothing. And the person who tells you otherwise is the one you should watch most carefully, How do you recognize this? Watch for the scorekeeper, the person who remembers every favor they did for you, but conveniently forgets the ones you did for them. The person who brings up past generosity during arguments. The person who frames their help as sacrifice. I was there for you when no one else was. That sentence is not a reminder, it is a leash. And every time you feel guilt after hearing it, the leash tightens. The strategic response is simple but requires discipline. Never accept a gift you cannot afford to return. Never accept a favor from someone whose motives you have not verified through time. And never, never allow someone's generosity to silence your instincts. If something feels off, it is off. The gift does not change that. It only makes it harder to see. Here is how this plays out in real life. Your boss takes you to dinner, pays for everything, talks about your future, your potential, how much they believe in you. It feels like mentorship. It feels like being chosen. But 3 months later, when they ask you to cover for a decision that crosses your values, they do not frame it as a request. They frame it as an expectation. After all, they invested in you. They believed in you when no one else did. And now, the price of that investment has arrived, not as a bill, as an unspoken assumption that you owe them your compliance. Or consider the friend who always picks up the check, always drives, always insists on paying. You say thank you, you feel grateful, but over time, a subtle shift occurs. Your voice in the friendship gets quieter, your opinions carry less weight, because somewhere deep in your unconscious, you have accepted a position of debt, and the person who is always giving has slowly, quietly, become the person who is always in charge. Machiavelli would tell you this: generosity without expectation is rare, and when it appears, it is precious. But generosity with a ledger, generosity that comes with memory, with reminders, with unspoken terms, that is commerce disguised as love. Learn to tell the difference. Your freedom depends on it. The second mechanism is more subtle, and it is the one that causes the most long-term damage. It is called intermittent reinforcement. Imagine a slot machine. You pull the lever. Nothing. You pull again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. Then suddenly, a flood of coins, lights, sound, reward. And that single moment of reward, after all that nothing is so intoxicating, so neurologically powerful that it keeps you pulling the lever for hours, days, years, long past the point of logic. Now replace the slot machine with a person. They are cold, distant, unavailable. You reach out and get nothing. You try harder, still nothing. You begin to doubt yourself. And then, suddenly, they are warm, present, attentive, loving, everything you wanted. And that single moment of warmth after all that coldness hits your brain like a drug. Dopamine floods your system. Relief washes over you. And in that moment, you are hooked. This is not love. This is addiction dressed in human form. The manipulator who uses intermittent reinforcement does not have to be conscious of it. Some people learned this pattern in childhood, from parents who alternated between affection and neglect, between praise and criticism. They replicate it automatically. But whether it is conscious or not, the effect on you is the same. You become addicted to the highs because the lows make them feel extraordinary. Machiavelli saw this principle operating at every level of power. He noted that people cling more tightly to those who alternate between cruelty and kindness than to those who are consistently kind. Consistency breeds complacency. Inconsistency breeds obsession. And the person who keeps you guessing, who keeps you oscillating between hope and despair, that person has more control over you than someone who simply treats you well. How do you break free? You recognize the pattern. The moment you notice that someone makes you feel incredible in rare bursts and miserable the rest of the time, you are not in a relationship. You are in a cycle. And cycles do not end on their own. They end when you step off the wheel. completely, without negotiation, without one more chance, because one more chance is exactly what the cycle needs to continue. Here is the test. Think of the person who occupies the most mental space in your life right now, not the person who makes you feel consistently good, the person who makes you think the most, the person you analyze, decode, try to understand, the person whose next move you are always trying to predict. That person is not fascinating because they are deep. They are fascinating because they are inconsistent. And inconsistency in the human brain triggers the same circuits as a puzzle. You cannot stop trying to solve them. But here is the truth Machiavelli would force you to confront. Some people are not puzzles to be solved. They are patterns to be recognized and left behind. The consistent person may seem boring by comparison. Their love does not come in waves. It comes in steady, quiet, reliable streams. And your brain, wired for the highs of intermittent reinforcement, may confuse that steadiness with lack of passion. It is not. It is maturity. It is safety. It is the foundation upon which real power, real partnership, is built. Do not mistake chaos for chemistry. Chaos is just chaos, and it will burn your house down while you call it exciting. The third mechanism is the one Machiavelli studied most deeply, because it is the foundation of all political power and personal influence. It is called information asymmetry. The person who knows more controls more. It is that simple. In every interaction, there is a balance of information. How much do you know about them versus how much they know about you? And the person who tips that balance in their favor, who gathers your secrets while guarding their own, holds all the power. Think about your own relationships. Who knows your deepest fears? Who knows your insecurities? Who knows the things you have never told anyone else? Now ask yourself, do you know the equivalent about them? If the answer is no, you have a problem. Because they are holding a loaded weapon and you are standing in the open with nothing. The strategic manipulator collects information the way a general collects intelligence before a battle. Every conversation is reconnaissance. Every vulnerable moment you share is a data point. They file it away, your triggers, your soft spots, your breaking points, and they use it when the time is right. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it is a subtle comment that hits exactly where it hurts. Sometimes it is a silence at the precise moment you need reassurance. Sometimes it is telling a third party something you shared in confidence, knowing it will get back to you and destabilize you. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince should never rely on the goodwill of others for the protection of his secrets. Your secrets are your vulnerabilities, and vulnerabilities, in the wrong hands, become weapons. This does not mean you should never be vulnerable. It means you should be selectively vulnerable. Share your depth with those who have earned it through consistent, verified behavior over time, not through charm, not through intensity, not through promises, but through action. Here is a rule that will save you more pain than any other. Match disclosure for disclosure. If someone asks about your past, your fears, your weaknesses, ask them the same. If they deflect, if they redirect, if they answer with vagueness while demanding your specificity, you are looking at a collector, not a connector. A connector shares. A collector extracts. Learn the difference, and you will never hand your power to someone who does not deserve it. The fourth mechanism is one of the most insidious because it hides inside something that looks like empathy. It is called emotional labeling. This is when someone defines your emotions for you before you have a chance to define them yourself. You are being too sensitive. You are overreacting. You are just jealous. You are paranoid. These are not observations. They are installations. They plant a definition inside your mind that overrides your own experience. And the genius of this technique is that it puts you on the defensive instantly. Instead of addressing the issue that upset you, you are now defending your right to feel upset. The conversation shifts from their behavior to your reaction. And suddenly, you are the problem. Not what they did, but how you responded to it. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately as a diversion tactic, a method of controlling the narrative. In politics, it is called reframing. In relationships, it is called gaslighting. And the effect is the same. You start doubting your own perception of reality. You start wondering if maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe the problem really is you. It is not you. If your instinct says something is wrong, something is wrong. Your emotions are data, not defects. And the person who consistently makes you doubt your own feelings is not helping you grow. They are eroding your foundation so they can rebuild it in their image. The strategic defense against emotional labeling is devastatingly simple. Name it. The moment someone tells you what you are feeling, pause. Do not accept the label. Say, calmly, "That is your interpretation. I know what I feel." You do not need to argue. You do not need to prove anything. You simply refuse to let someone else author your inner experience. And that refusal alone, that quiet, immovable insistence on your own reality, is more powerful than any confrontation. The fifth and final mechanism we will explore in this section is perhaps the most destructive, because it does not attack your emotions or your information. It attacks your identity. It is called isolation. The manipulator who isolates you does not do it with chains or locked doors. They do it with whispers. They slowly, systematically separate you from the people who see them clearly. The friend who warned you about them becomes toxic. The family member who asked questions becomes controlling. The colleague who noticed something off becomes jealous. One by one, the voices of reason are silenced, not by force, by framing. And before you know it, the only voice left in your world is theirs. You have no mirror except the one they hold up. And that mirror will always show you what they want you to see. A version of yourself that needs them, depends on them, cannot function without them. Machiavelli observed that the first task of any ruler seeking absolute power is to eliminate the counsel of those who speak freely. If you control what someone hears, you control what they think. If you control what they think, you control what they do. Isolation is not a side effect of manipulation. It is the prerequisite. How do you guard against this? You maintain your counsel. You keep people in your life who are not afraid to tell you the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. And when someone new enters your world and begins systematically criticizing the people who were there before them, that is not concern. That is conquest. They are not protecting you. They are clearing the field. Pay attention to anyone who needs you to be alone in order to feel secure. A person who is genuinely good for you will encourage your connections, not compete with them. They will welcome the presence of people who love you, not feel threatened by it. And if the opposite is happening, if you find yourself slowly drifting away from everyone who cared about you before this person arrived, stop. Look around. Count who is left. And ask yourself, how did I get here? The isolation does not happen overnight. It is a slow erosion. First, it is a comment about your best friend. I just don't think they have your best interests at heart. Then, it is a complaint about your family. They don't understand you the way I do. Then, it is a critique of your habits, your hobbies, your passions, the things that connect you to a world outside of them. Piece by piece, the bridges are burned, and the arsonist is standing right next to you, holding your hand, telling you the fire was necessary. Machiavelli would call this fortress building. The manipulator is constructing a fortress, not to protect you, but to contain you. Inside that fortress, there is only one source of truth, one source of comfort, one source of identity, them. And the moment you try to leave, you discover that the walls were not built to keep others out. They were built to keep you in.
Now,
I can explain.
take a breath. Because what you have just learned is not a collection of abstract concepts. It is a diagnostic tool. You can now run every relationship in your life through these 5 filters: the weaponized gift, intermittent reinforcement, information asymmetry, emotional labeling, and isolation. And see, with startling clarity, who is building you up and who is taking you apart. Some of you will run this diagnostic and discover that your relationships are healthy, that the people around you are genuine, that you are safe, and that is a gift you should never take for granted. But some of you, and you already know who you are, will run this diagnostic and feel the ground shift beneath your feet. You will recognize patterns you dismissed. You will see faces you trusted in a different light, and you will feel something rising in your chest, not anger, but recognition. The recognition that you have been playing a game you did not know existed, and someone else has been holding all the cards. That recognition is not defeat. It is the beginning of power, because you cannot change what you cannot see. And now, you see. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. You are introducing a new order in your life right now. The old order, the one built on blind trust, unverified loyalty, and the desperate need to believe the best in everyone, that order is crumbling, and in its place, something stronger is being built. Something that does not need illusions to stand. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are not becoming suspicious. You are becoming strategic. You are not losing your heart. You are finally giving it the protection it always deserved. And understand this. The 5 mechanisms you just learned are not separate tools that manipulators use one at a time. They work in concert. Like instruments in a dark orchestra, they overlap and reinforce each other. The gift creates the debt. The intermittent reinforcement creates the addiction. The information asymmetry creates the vulnerability. The emotional labeling creates the self-doubt. And the isolation ensures there is no one left to help you see what is happening. Together, they form a cage so elegant that the prisoner does not even know they are imprisoned. They think they are in love. They think they are in a friendship. They think they are part of a team. But they are in a cage. And the door has been open the entire time. They just never thought to look for it. Now you know where the door is. But the coldest move, the one that separates the aware from the transformed, is still ahead. Because knowing these mechanisms is only half the battle. The other half is learning how to respond, how to act. How to dismantle manipulation in real time, with specific words, specific silences, specific decisions that strip the manipulator of their power, without ever raising your voice or revealing your hand. Curious how that works? Stay with me, because what comes next is the most practical and immediately applicable part of everything you will hear today. And by the end of it, you will not just understand manipulation, you will be immune to it. You have seen the machinery. You have named the mechanisms. You understand how manipulation works at the structural level, the gifts that bind, the inconsistency that addicts, the information that empowers, the labels that silence, the isolation that traps. But understanding is not enough. A soldier who can name every weapon on the battlefield but cannot fire one is still a casualty, and you did not come this far to remain a casualty. It is time to arm yourself. What follows are specific, actionable tactics that you can deploy starting today. Not theories, not philosophies, responses, sentences, silences, decisions. Each one designed to dismantle a manipulator's power at the root, without aggression, without drama, without revealing that you see them clearly. Because that is the ultimate Machiavellian principle. Let them believe they are still in control, right up until the moment they discover they never were. Tactic 1. The strategic pause. When a manipulator makes a request, especially one wrapped in urgency, guilt, or emotional pressure. They are counting on your immediate response. They need you to react before you think. Because once you think, the spell breaks. So here is what you do. You pause, not for a second, for an uncomfortable amount of time. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You hold their gaze, or their message, in silence. And then you say one of the following. Let me think about that. I will get back to you. That is interesting. I need some time to process. That is it. No explanation. No justification. No apology. Just the pause and the deferral. And watch what happens. The manipulator will feel the ground shift, because their entire strategy depends on momentum, on pushing you through a sequence of emotions so fast that you never stop to question where you are going. The pause breaks the sequence. It gives your mind time to evaluate, and it sends a message louder than any confrontation. I do not move on your schedule. Machiavelli knew this principle intimately. He wrote about the danger of hasty decisions, how princes who acted on impulse were invariably destroyed by consequences they did not foresee. The pause is your shield. Use it every time you feel pressured, rushed, or emotionally cornered. The manipulator cannot operate in stillness. They need motion. They need reaction. Deny them that, and you have already won the first battle. Here is how this plays out in real life. Your partner says, during an argument, if you really loved me, you would not question this. The old you, the unaware you, would immediately feel guilt. You would rush to prove your love, to reassure, to comply. But the new you pauses. 5 seconds of silence. And then, I hear you. I need a moment to think about what you just said. That single sentence does 3 things. It validates their words without accepting their framing. It reclaims your time. And it communicates, without confrontation, that emotional ultimatums do not work on you anymore. Or imagine this scenario at work. Your manager says, I need this done by tomorrow morning. I know it is a lot, but I am counting on you. You are the only one I trust with this. Flattery wrapped in urgency, wrapped in obligation. The triple lock. The old you would say yes immediately, grateful for the trust, ignoring the unreasonable timeline. The new you says, I appreciate the confidence. Let me review my current workload and get back to you within the hour, with what is realistic. No refusal, no confrontation, but no compliance either. You have bought yourself time, reframed the exchange as a negotiation instead of a command, and established that your capacity, not their urgency, determines your commitments. Tactic 2. The mirror response. This is one of the most devastatingly effective tools you will ever possess, and it requires almost no effort. When someone tries to manipulate you through emotional labeling, you are being dramatic, you are too sensitive, you always overreact, you do not defend, you do not argue, you mirror. You think I am being dramatic? You feel I am too sensitive. You believe I always overreact? That is all. You repeat their accusation back to them as a question, calmly, without emotion, without edge, just a mirror reflecting their words back into the room. And something extraordinary happens. They hear themselves. For the first time, their words are no longer a weapon aimed at you. They are a statement hanging in the air, exposed, vulnerable, available for examination. And most manipulators, when confronted with the sound of their own manipulation, will stumble. They will backtrack. They will soften. Because the mirror forces them to own what they said, and most of them are not prepared to do that. Machiavelli would approve of this technique because it follows his central principle. Never attack when you can expose. The mirror does not fight. It reveals. And revelation is always more powerful than confrontation. When you fight someone, they can fight back. When you simply show them what they look like, they fight themselves. Use the mirror in conversations where you feel someone is redefining your reality, When a friend says, "You are being paranoid," respond with, "You think I am being paranoid," and then wait. Let the silence do the work. They will either double down, in which case you have confirmed their intent, or they will retreat, which gives you the space to redirect the conversation on your terms. Tactic 3, the controlled disclosure.
Patience, my friend.
Remember the principle of information asymmetry.
In Rome,
the one who knows more
the world.
controls more. Your tactic here is not to stop sharing entirely. That would make you cold, unapproachable, and would damage genuine relationships. Instead, you control the depth and timing of what you share. Think of your personal information as a building with multiple floors. The ground floor is public, your job, your hobbies, your general interests. Anyone can visit. The second floor is personal, your opinions, your experiences, your stories. Selected visitors only. The third floor is private, your fears, your wounds, your deepest insecurities. Restricted access, earned through time and proven loyalty. The mistake most people make is giving everyone a master key on the first visit. Someone shows a little warmth, a little interest, and suddenly they are on the top floor, looking at everything, with full access to the blueprint of your vulnerabilities. The manipulator counts on this. They create an atmosphere of intimacy, deep conversations, shared secrets, late-night confessions, specifically to rush you past the lower floors and get you to the top before you have had time to verify their character. Your tactic: slow the elevator. Share ground floor information freely. Share second floor information after consistency has been demonstrated, weeks, not hours. Share third floor information only after months of verified trustworthiness. And here is the critical addition. Track whether the sharing is mutual. If you are on the third floor and they are still on the ground floor, you are being harvested. Close the door, return to the lobby, and wait to see if they follow. Machiavelli wrote that a prudent man should always follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have been most excellent. The great men of strategy never revealed their full hand. They showed only what served their purpose, not out of deception, but out of wisdom. You do not owe anyone access to your depths. That access is a privilege, and privileges are earned. Tactic 4, the exit without explanation. This is the one that will feel most unnatural. Because you have been conditioned to believe that every departure requires a reason, every boundary requires a justification, every no requires an essay of explanation. It does not. When someone crosses a line, when a manipulator shows their hand, you do not need to confront them. You do not need to explain what you saw. You do not need to have a conversation about it. You can simply leave, reduce contact, stop responding with the same speed, stop being available, let the distance speak. Here is why this works. The confrontation is exactly what the manipulator wants. It gives them a stage. It gives them an opportunity to reframe, to explain, to gaslight, to turn your accusation into a performance of their victimhood. By confronting, you hand them the very platform they need to manipulate further. But by withdrawing silently, you give them nothing. No material, no leverage, no script to follow. They are left with silence. And silence, for a manipulator, is the most terrifying thing in the world. Because they cannot control what they cannot engage with. Machiavelli understood this in the context of military strategy. He wrote that sometimes the best response to a provocation is no response at all, because the enemy who provokes is looking for a specific reaction, and denying them that reaction dismantles their entire plan. Your silence is not weakness. It is the refusal to participate in their game, and that refusal is the most powerful move on the board. In practice, this means you do not need to tell the friend why you stopped calling. You do not need to explain to the colleague why you no longer share personal information with them. You do not need to give the family member a reason for your new boundaries. You simply implement them. Quietly, consistently, permanently. And if they ask why, if they press, if they demand, you can say with complete calm, I am just adjusting some priorities. No detail, no debate, no opening for negotiation. Tactic 5. The reframe. Manipulators control you by controlling the frame of the conversation. They decide what the argument is about. They decide what the roles are. Who is the villain? Who is the victim? Who owes whom? And as long as you accept their frame, you are playing their game. The reframe is your tool for changing the game entirely. When someone says, after everything I have done for you, this is how you treat me, that is a frame. The frame says, I am the giver, you are the ungrateful receiver, and the conversation is about your failure to appreciate me. If you accept that frame, you lose. Instead, you reframe. I appreciate what you have done. And I also need to make decisions that are right for me. This is one of them.
Power is rarely said.
Now the frame has shifted. It is no longer about gratitude versus ingratitude. It is about autonomy. And autonomy is a frame the manipulator cannot attack without revealing themselves. Another example. Your partner says, you are just like your mother. A statement designed to destabilize you by attacking your identity. Instead of defending yourself against the comparison, you reframe. This conversation is about us, not my mother. What specifically is bothering you right now? You have not denied. You have not attacked. You have simply redirected the conversation to a frame that serves truth rather than manipulation. Machiavelli was a master reframer. In The Prince, he consistently reframed cruelty as pragmatism, generosity as strategic risk, and mercy as potential weakness. Not because he lacked morals, but because he understood that the frame determines the conclusion. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. So, learn to control it. Tactic 6. The disappearance test. This one is not a response to manipulation. It is a diagnostic tool, and it is brutally simple. If you suspect someone is in your life for what they can get from you rather than who you are, do this. Disappear for a while. Stop reaching out first. Stop being the one who initiates. Stop offering help before it is requested. And then watch. Watch who notices your absence. Watch who reaches out. Watch who asks if you are okay. Not because they need something, but because they noticed the silence and were concerned. And watch who does not. Watch who only contacts you when they need a favor, a listener, a solution. Watch who forgets you exist the moment you stop being useful. This test will break your heart, because some of the people you believed were closest to you will fail it, and some of the people you overlooked will pass it brilliantly. That is the cost of clarity. It rearranges your world, but it rearranges it honestly. And an honest world, even if it is smaller, is infinitely more stable than a large one built on illusions. Machiavelli wrote that the best fortress is to not be hated by the people. The modern translation: the best protection is to surround yourself with people who value your presence, not your utility. The disappearance test shows you who those people are. Use it, and then invest your energy accordingly. Tactic 7. The boundary script. Boundaries are meaningless without language. Most people know they need boundaries, but do not know how to express them without sounding aggressive, cold, or confrontational. So here are the exact scripts. Memorize them, practice them, let them become automatic. When someone asks you to do something you do not want to do, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I am going to pass on this one. No reason, no apology, no elaboration. If they press, I understand your perspective. My answer is still no. Repeat as needed. Do not escalate. Do not justify. The repetition itself is the boundary. When someone crosses a line in conversation, says something disrespectful, dismissive, or designed to diminish you, I'm going to pretend you did not just say that, and give you a chance to rephrase. This is elegant because it accomplishes three things simultaneously. It names the transgression without creating a scene. It offers them an exit, a way to correct without losing face. And it establishes, unmistakably, that you heard it, you recognized it, and you will not tolerate it. When someone tries to guilt you into changing your mind, I understand this is hard to hear. I have thought about it, and I am comfortable with my decision. Notice the phrase, comfortable with my decision. It closes the door on negotiation. It does not invite further discussion. It signals that this is final, not because you are stubborn, but because you have already considered their perspective and chosen your own. These scripts are not about being rude. They are about being clear. And clarity, as you are learning, is the manipulator's greatest enemy, because manipulation thrives in ambiguity, in unspoken agreements, in the gray zones where people are too polite to draw lines. The moment you draw a line, clearly, calmly, without apology, the gray zone disappears, and so does their power. Here are the common errors to avoid as you implement these tactics. Error 1. Announcing your awareness. Do not tell a manipulator that you know what they are doing. The moment you announce your awareness, you lose your advantage. They will adapt. They will find new methods. They will become more subtle, more careful, more dangerous. Your awareness is your weapon. Keep it concealed. Let them believe the old you is still standing in front of them, while the new you watches from behind bulletproof glass. Error 2. Seeking revenge. The desire for revenge after discovering manipulation is natural, but revenge is the emotional person's trap. It keeps you connected to the manipulator. It keeps you thinking about them, planning around them, investing energy in them. The ultimate victory is not hurting them. It is forgetting them. It is reaching a point where they occupy no space in your mind at all. That is the annihilation they fear most. Not your anger, but your indifference. Error 3. Applying these tactics to everyone. Not every person in your life is a manipulator. Not every act of kindness has strings attached. Not every inconsistency is intermittent reinforcement. If you begin treating everyone as a threat, you will become the very thing you are trying to avoid. Someone who uses strategic behavior not for defense, but for control. These tools are shields, not swords. Use them when the situation demands it. Put them down when it does not. Error. 4. Confusing boundaries with walls. A boundary says, you can come this far, but no further. A wall says, no one can come at all. Boundaries are selective. Walls are total. The person who builds walls after learning these tactics has overcorrected. They have gone from being too open to being completely closed, and in doing so, they have traded one prison for another. The goal is not to shut the world out. The goal is to install a gate, one that opens for the worthy and closes for the dangerous. That gate requires judgment, and judgment requires practice, patience, and the willingness to occasionally get it wrong and adjust. Error 5. Moving too fast. You have just absorbed a tremendous amount of strategic awareness. The temptation will be to go home tonight and restructure every relationship, confront every suspected manipulator, and implement every tactic at once. Do not. Speed is the enemy of strategy. Begin slowly. Pick one relationship, the one that troubles you most, and observe it through the lens you have been given. Apply one tactic. Watch the result. Adjust. Then move to the next. This is not a revolution. It is an evolution. And evolution, as Machiavelli would tell you, is always more sustainable than revolution. Machiavelli himself made this distinction. He did not advocate cruelty for its own sake. He advocated cruelty only when it was necessary, and mercy whenever it was safe. The strategic mind is not a paranoid mind. It is a discerning mind, It knows when to guard and when to open. It knows when to analyze and when to simply be present. And that balance, that calibration between vigilance and vulnerability, is the mark of true mastery. At this point in your journey, something has already changed. You can feel it. The way you are processing these words is different from how you would have processed them a year ago, a month ago, an hour ago. Something inside you has shifted. A filter has been installed. A lens has been calibrated. And you will never be able to unsee what you have now seen. This is the transformation that Machiavelli intended. Not to make you hard, not to make you heartless, but to make you awake. To make you the kind of person who walks into a room and reads it, not with suspicion, but with clarity. The kind of person who listens to words but watches hands, who accepts compliments but tracks patterns, who loves deeply but never blindly. This is your new operating system, and it is irreversible. But there is one more transformation waiting for you. The deepest one, the one that ties everything together and ensures that what you have learned does not just inform your mind, but reshapes your identity. It is the metamorphosis, and it begins now. Something has changed. You can feel it. Not in the way your body is sitting, not in the room around you, but somewhere deeper. In the architecture of your thinking. A wall has been removed. A lens has been installed. And the world you are about to re-enter when this video ends is not the same world you were living in when it began. Not because the world changed, because you did. This is the metamorphosis. You walked in here as someone who trusted by default. Someone who gave people the benefit of the doubt as a reflex, not as a decision. Someone who handed out access to their inner world the way a child hands out invitations to a birthday party, generously, eagerly, without checking whether the guests deserved to be there. And that is not a flaw in your character. That is a testament to your good heart. But a good heart, without a guarded mind, is an invitation to suffering. And you have suffered enough. The person you were before this video believed that being kind meant being open. That vulnerability was always strength. That trusting people was the right thing to do, and doubting them was somehow a moral failure. That person was beautiful. But that person was bleeding, quietly, invisibly, in relationships that drained them, in friendships that used them, in workplaces that exploited them, in family dynamics that silenced them. That person smiled while carrying the weight of other people's agendas and called it love. That person is gone, not dead, not destroyed, evolved. And evolution is not loss, it is refinement. The caterpillar does not mourn the cocoon. The sword does not grieve the forge. You are not losing who you were. You are distilling it. Keeping everything that was good and burning away everything that left you exposed. The kindness remains. The generosity remains. The capacity for deep, genuine, world-shaking love remains. What has been removed is the blindfold. What has been added is the blade. Think of it this way. A house with no locks is not a welcoming home. It is a vulnerable one. Putting locks on your doors does not mean you hate visitors. It means you choose who enters. You have just installed locks on doors that have been open your entire life. And for the first time, the home of your inner world is both welcoming and protected. That is not contradiction. That is completion. The person you are now, the person who has absorbed Machiavelli's core warning and the tactical framework that follows it, this person is different. This person still has the same heart, the same capacity for love, for generosity, for deep connection. But now that heart beats behind armor, not armor made of bitterness or cynicism, armor made of awareness. The kind of armor that does not make you cold, it makes you selective. The kind that does not push people away, it ensures that only the right people get close. You are the lion and the fox now. The lion for strength, For the moments when you must stand your ground, draw a line, and refuse to be moved. The fox, for perception. For the moments when you must read the room, see the trap, and walk around it before anyone realizes you even noticed. Let me tell you what this looks like in practice. Because the transformation is not abstract. It is lived. You will walk into a room tomorrow, and someone will try to flatter you. The old you would have glowed. The new you will smile, accept the compliment graciously, and file it. Not with gratitude, with data. You will ask yourself, quietly and automatically, what does this person want? Not because you are cynical, because you are awake. And an awake person does not reject kindness. They verify it. Someone will try to rush you into a decision. They will create urgency where none exists. They will say, we need to decide this now, or this opportunity will not wait. The old you would have panicked and complied. The new you will breathe, pause, and say with absolute calm, good decisions are not made under pressure. I will take the time I need. And in that moment, you will feel something you have never felt before in that kind of situation, power. Not power over them, power over yourself. The power to choose your own timing, your own rhythm, your own terms. Someone will share a secret with you, something personal, something vulnerable. The old you would have matched it instantly, sharing your own deepest wounds in return, creating what felt like a bond. The new you will receive it with warmth. You will listen. You will honor what they shared. But you will not reciprocate at the same depth. Not yet. Because you now understand that genuine intimacy is built over time, and anyone who rushes it is either naive or strategic. You will share your ground floor and watch whether they earn the stairs. Someone will try to isolate you from a friend, a family member, a support system. They will plant a seed of doubt. I just do not think they have your best interests at heart. The old you might have listened. The new you will hear the seed for what it is, a conquest strategy, and you will respond calmly. I appreciate your concern. I trust my ability to evaluate my own relationships. That sentence is a fortress. It acknowledges their words without accepting their premise, and it closes the door on further interference with a lock they cannot pick. These are not imaginary scenarios. These are your life, tomorrow, next week, next month, for the rest of your existence. Every single day, you will encounter moments where the old you would have been manipulated, and the new you will simply observe, choose, and move, untouched. And here is something remarkable that will happen over time, something that Machiavelli hinted at, but never fully articulated. When you become unmanipulable, you do not just protect yourself. You elevate every relationship you are in. Because the people who genuinely care about you will feel the change and respect it. They will rise to meet the standard you have set. They will become more honest, more direct, more authentic, because your clarity demands it. Your presence becomes a filter that separates the genuine from the performative without you ever having to say a word. The manipulators, on the other hand, will fall away, not with a bang, but with a slow, bewildered retreat. They will test your new boundaries once, twice, maybe 3 times. And each time they hit the wall of your awareness, they will feel something they are deeply unfamiliar with. Resistance. Not hostile resistance. Calm, immovable, almost serene resistance. The kind that cannot be argued with because it does not argue back. The kind that cannot be guilt-tripped because it has already examined the guilt and found it manufactured. And eventually, they will move on. Not because you defeated them, because you became invisible to their system. Their tools no longer work on you. And a manipulator without a target is just a person standing alone with a toolkit they cannot use. That is the quietest victory you will ever win. And it is the sweetest. This is not paranoia. Paranoia is the refusal to trust anyone. This is discernment. Discernment is the ability to trust the right people for the right reasons at the right time. And there is a universe of difference between those two things. The paranoid person builds a prison and calls it safety. The discerning person builds a kingdom and calls it home. Now let us consolidate what you have learned, because the power of this knowledge lies in its integration, not as separate lessons, but as a single operating system that runs in the background of everything you do. First, manipulation lives in the gap between how you wish people were and how they actually are. Close the gap by observing behavior instead of believing words. Patterns do not lie. Promises do. Second, the 5 mechanisms of manipulation: weaponized generosity, intermittent reinforcement, information asymmetry, emotional labeling, and isolation work together as a system. Recognizing one is valuable. Recognizing all 5 makes you nearly untouchable. Third, your tactical toolkit: the strategic pause, the mirror response, controlled disclosure, exit without explanation, the reframe, the disappearance test, and boundary scripts. These are not aggressive moves. They are defensive positions. Use them to protect, not to attack. The moment you weaponize them against innocent people, you become the manipulator. And that is a betrayal of everything Machiavelli actually stood for. Fourth, speed is the enemy of wisdom. Implement slowly, observe carefully, adjust constantly. This is a lifelong practice, not a one-time event. The strategic mind is never finished learning. It is always calibrating, always refining, always adapting to new information. Fifth, not everyone is a threat. The majority of people you meet are not manipulators. They are simply human, flawed, inconsistent, sometimes selfish, sometimes generous, usually a complicated mixture of both. Your job is not to assume the worst in everyone. Your job is to see clearly. And when you see clearly, you will find that many people deserve your trust, your time, and your depth. Those people are treasures. Protect them. Invest in them. Give them the loyalty that the manipulators tried to steal. This is the paradox that Machiavelli would have wanted you to understand. The purpose of learning about manipulation is not to become manipulative. It is to become free. Free from the games you did not know you were playing. Free from the debts you did not know you had accumulated. Free from the identities that other people installed in you without your consent. Free to choose, truly choose, who gets your time, your energy, your trust, and your love. Think about that word, freedom. You have been chasing it your entire life without knowing it. You chased it in relationships, hoping someone would free you from loneliness. You chased it at work, hoping success would free you from doubt. You chased it in self-improvement, hoping knowledge would free you from confusion. But freedom was never out there. It was never something someone else could give you. Freedom is an internal condition. It is the state of being unmoved by what moves everyone else. It is the ability to sit in silence while the world screams for your reaction. It is the power to say no without guilt, to say yes without obligation, and to walk away without explanation. That freedom is now yours. Not because you read about it, not because you understood it intellectually, but because you experienced it. Right here, right now, in the shift that occurred between the first word of this video and this sentence. Something moved inside you. Something settled. Something clicked into place like a key in a lock that has been waiting for it your entire life. And here is the deepest truth, the one that ties all of this together, the one that most people will spend their entire lives missing. The person who understands manipulation but chooses kindness anyway is the most powerful person in any room. Because their kindness is not naivety. It is a choice, and a choice made with full awareness, with eyes open, with the full knowledge of what people are capable of. That choice carries a weight, a gravitas, a depth that naive kindness never can. When you are kind, because you do not know any better, your kindness is fragile. One betrayal, and it shatters. But when you are kind because you have seen the darkness and chosen the light anyway, that kindness is unbreakable. It has been tested in the fires of reality and survived. That is the kindness of the warrior, the kindness of the king, the kindness of someone who does not need illusions to love the world. Machiavelli is remembered as the philosopher of cruelty. But read him carefully, truly carefully, and you will find something different. You will find a man who loved his republic so deeply that he was willing to tell the truth about power, even when that truth was ugly. He did not celebrate manipulation. He exposed it, not so that people could become manipulators, but so that they could stop being victims. That is what this video has done for you. It has not made you darker. It has made you lighter. Because the heaviest thing a person can carry is a lie they believe about the world, and you have just set down 100 of them. The lie that everyone means well, the lie that trust should be given freely, the lie that vulnerability is always rewarded, the lie that boundaries are selfish, the lie that silence is weakness, the lie that explaining yourself makes you understood, the lie that love means tolerating everything, the lie that being used is the price of being kind. You have set all of these down, and in their place, you are carrying something infinitely lighter and infinitely stronger. The truth. The truth that the world is neither good nor evil. It is strategic. That people are neither angels nor demons. They are motivated. That relationships are neither fairy tales nor wars. They are negotiations. And that you, armed with awareness, guarded by discernment, and driven by a heart that refuses to harden even in the face of reality, you are the most formidable version of yourself that has ever existed. This is who you are now. Not the naive one, not the bitter one, the clear one. The one who sees the game and chooses, consciously and deliberately, when to play and when to walk away. The one who gives not from weakness, but from abundance. The one who trusts, not from blindness, but from evidence. The one who loves not from desperation, but from choice. Machiavelli would be proud, not because you learned his lessons about power, but because you used them to become free. Now, before you leave this space, I have a request, not a demand, a ritual. If this message has reached something inside you, if you feel the shift, if you recognize the transformation, then I want you to leave a mark, not for me, not for this channel, for yourself, a declaration that the old version of you heard this warning and chose to evolve. Comment below the phrase, "I see the game now, and I choose my own moves." This is not a comment. It is a covenant with yourself, a line drawn in the sand between who you were and who you have become. Every time you see it in the future, you will remember this moment, the moment you stopped being a piece on someone else's board and became the hand that moves. And if you are ready to continue this journey, if you understand that this video is not the end, but the beginning of a lifetime of strategic awareness, then subscribe to this channel. Not because I'm asking you to click a button, but because by subscribing, you are joining a silent legion. A community of minds that have chosen clarity over comfort, awareness over illusion, power over submission. This is not a channel, this is a fortress. And inside these walls, we do not seek the approval of the world, we seek the mastery of ourselves. Every video here is a weapon forged for your protection. Every lesson is a brick in the wall of your sovereignty. And every moment you spend here is an investment in the version of you that no one, no manipulator, no deceiver, no strategist can touch. You came here perhaps by accident, perhaps by curiosity, perhaps because the algorithm decided it was time. But you stayed because something inside you recognized the truth. And that something, that instinct, that quiet voice that has been whispering warnings you refuse to hear, that something is now fully awake. Honor it. Protect it. Feed it. Go now. Walk back into the world with the eyes of the fox and the heart of the lion. Let your silence be your armor. Let your awareness be your blade. Let your kindness be your greatest weapon, wielded not in ignorance, but in full, devastating clarity. Machiavelli's core warning was never about cruelty. It was about consciousness. He was telling you to wake up, to see the world not as you hope it is, but as it truly operates. And now that you have heard it, truly heard it, you carry something that cannot be taken from you, cannot be manipulated out of you, cannot be weakened by anyone's agenda. You carry the truth, and the truth, once seen, can never be unseen. Let me leave you with one final reflection, one that Machiavelli never wrote, but that lives in the spaces between his words. The greatest manipulation of all, the one that no one talks about, the one that causes more suffering than any individual deceiver ever could, is the manipulation you perform on yourself. The stories you tell yourself about why you deserve to be treated poorly. The excuses you make for people who showed you exactly who they were. The belief that you are not worthy of better. That lie, the one that says you must earn love by tolerating pain, that is the deepest manipulation you will ever face. And it does not come from outside. It comes from within. So as you leave this video, armed with every tactic and every truth you have been given, remember this. The most important application of everything you have learned is in the relationship you have with yourself. Apply the same scrutiny to your own internal narrative. Challenge the stories you tell yourself about your worth. Refuse to accept emotional labels, even the ones you put on yourself. Draw boundaries, even against your own self-destructive habits. Use the mirror response on your own thoughts. When your mind says, "You are not enough," mirror it back. "I think I am not enough." And let the absurdity of that statement collapse under its own weight. You are enough. You have always been enough. What you lacked was not value, it was vision. And now you have both. Go now. And may your clarity be your crown, not your cage. May your awareness be your liberation, not your prison. May every room you enter feel the weight of a presence that cannot be deceived, a mind that cannot be rushed, and a spirit that chose, freely, fully, and permanently, to never be manipulated again. This is Machiavelli's core warning, and now it is yours. Until the next lesson, remain unshaken, remain aware, remain sovereign. The game continues. But from this moment forward, you are no longer playing blind. You are the one who sees.